And thank you for joining in today's RTA webinar, Resolving Disputes in a Tenancy. My name is Lynn Smith and today's webinar will run for approximately 30 minutes. This is a popular topic and one that has been requested from feedback from past webinar attendees. So welcome today. In today's webinar, we're going to be looking at the common tenancy issues, causes of conflict in a tenancy, preventing bond disputes, tips for resolving tenancy issues, the RTA's free dispute resolution service, the benefits of conciliation, and also question and answer time. You can submit questions throughout the webinar and I'll endeavour to address as many as I can at the end. However, with the high volume of attendees today, it may not necessarily be possible to answer everybody's questions directly. So if your question hasn't been answered during the webinar or during the Q&A session, please contact our call centre, or again, a lot of information is available on the RTA's website. The RTA does value the feedback and reviews all the questions and feedback that we receive through these webinars and also other educational events, and that in turn helps us inform our content on our website and also key messaging. So just before we start, I am just going to launch a poll just in relation to seeing who is actually in our webinar today. So just bear with me. So our question is, which group in the rental sector do you belong to identify with? So that's whether you're a property manager, an agent, or whether you're a tenant, landlord, or community support organisation or other. I'll just leave that open for a moment. Great. Look, thanks everybody. Just to let you know, I'll just close that now. So it looks like we have around 78% of people attending today are actually property managers or agents. And then we also have about 9% for community support organisations and 7% landlords, and about just under 3% for tenants and residents in today's session. So thank you. So the majority of tenancies do run smoothly with little or no problems. The RTA received over 29,000 dispute resolution requests last financial year, with 52% of those matters relating to bond disputes. So this is where someone has claimed on the rental bond and the other person has disagreed. So remember, the quickest way to get a bond refund is an agreed form by both the tenant and the agent or the owner. And that leads me to the very first point, which is the end of the tenancy, the vacate inspection. I'm going to talk more on this particular point shortly, as it is such a significant topic on its own. The other disputes that we see are in relation to the end of the tenancy. So this could be someone disputing a notice served or seeking extra time to move, or it could be someone looking to end the agreement early, also known as a lease break in the sector. So it's really important to remember there may be a level of compensation that might be due, either for loss of rent or reletting expenses, but there is also that duty to mitigate loss when claiming compensation. The other topic we've got is repairs and maintenance, and again, this is a very popular topic, and I'm going to be expanding on that shortly as well. So the other issues that we see are rent arrears, and there is a procedure to follow in relation should a tenant fall behind in rent. A remedy breach notice can be issued, and failure to rectify that breach could see a notice to leave served to the tenant. Or other options might be to actually enter into a payment plan. So remember, there are specific timeframes applicable with all notices served. So the entry with the legislation outlines the rules of entry, and that's when a landlord or an agent can enter, what the notice is required to be given, and also the reasons for entry. So the RTA has a webinar on entry and breaches, and that's available on our website. So if you have any queries regarding these two particular topics, I recommend watching those webinars on our website. We also see disputes in relation to water charging, and the legislation is very clear. It outlines what the premises and the agreement requirements are for the landlord or the agent in charging water. The property must be individually water metered. The tenancy agreement states that the tenant will pay for the water consumption, and also too that the property is water efficient. If it doesn't meet the water efficient requirements, then it reverts back to that the owner is responsible to pay for a reasonable amount of water, and then the tenants will pay the excess. So if it's not individually metered, then you cannot charge cannot charge the tenant for the water consumption. Remember, it is only that water consumption that you can charge. The service charges are the owner's responsibility. It's also too really important to note that if you are passing on water bills, you need to be doing that in a reasonable time, not holding them till the end of the tenancy or asking for a bulk amount of bills to be paid at one time. It is recommended at the start of the tenancy that both the tenant and the agent or the landlord discuss what the water charging is, and also when the bills will be issued, how often and how to pay those bills. Okay, back to the vacate inspection. In relation to section 188.4, it's tenant's obligations generally, and this actually states that the tenant is to return the property in the same condition it was at the start of the tenancy, less fair wear and tear. And I know we get a lot of questions in relation to fair wear and tear, and I can see those questions coming through as well. So really, we have actually had done a previous webinar on the ending of a tenancy, and we do have a lot of information available on that webinar, which again is on our website. So it's really important that the tenant understands what your vacating process is. Not everybody follows the same process. And again, I go back to the quickest way to deal with a bond refund is having an agreed refund. For landlords and property managers and agents, only ever claim what you are entitled to claim. So if you don't have your invoices but you have a rough estimate, you should only be claiming that amount, not claiming the whole bond if you're not entitled to claim the whole bond. With the entry condition report versus the exit condition report, really important to have your documentation, so a thorough completed reports at the start and at the end, and also to taking photos and having that further evidence. It's really important to communicate if there is any property condition issues at the end of the tenancy, and making sure that everybody is aware of what their responsibilities are and if there's any further action to be taken. For maintenance repair, this is another area where the RTA sees disputes. So under section 185, the lessor's general obligations, the lessor is to ensure the premises are fit for the tenant to live in, not in breach of any health or safety issues, and also to, while the tenancy continues, they're looking to maintain the premises. Section 217 outlines that the tenant is responsible to inform the owner or the agent about repairs. Not every tenancy runs the same way in relation to how to report maintenance. So whether there's a maintenance request form to be completed, or whether someone makes a phone call or email informing them of the issue, or whether there's a breach notice and that's the way of informing them of the repair. It's really recommended to ensure that you deal with repair requests in a timely manner. So the legislation doesn't outline what that time is, and again, each situation is different and it should be dealt with on a case-by-case basis. However, it's really important to keep in mind what is classed as an emergency repair under the legislation, as outlined under section 214. For both the tenant and the landlord or agent, it's best to keep records of what is occurring during the tenancy, so that's whether it's a diary note of a phone conversation or an email or copies of notices. You really need to keep the lines of communication open during the process as well, and that is like if there's any delays with rectifying an item or a part of the property or an item has been removed, consider whether there is a level of compensation or a rent reduction offered during this time. So tenants should never withhold rent if a repair has not been done, and repairs and rents, keep in mind, they are separate responsibilities. So just let's take a step back and have a look at what may cause conflict in the first place. Usually it's a breakdown in communication. Could also be a lack of information or knowledge, not understanding the tenancy paperwork or rights and responsibilities, or misinterpreting the tenancy processes and legislation. People using inappropriate words or language. This could also include the volume and the tone of your voice. This may escalate a situation into a dispute that may not have been one in the first place. Having different expectations and making assumptions. This could also include stating their own personal opinion and not stating facts. Avoiding an issue or a situation with the hope that it will go away. And sometimes it could be just a case of a conflict of personalities, or you could actually be dealing with someone who just wants to thrive on conflict. So it's really always important to consider the other person's perspective. From the tenant's point of view, it is their home. From the owner, it's their investment, and in some cases, it's their income. And for the property managers, it's their day-to-day business. The RTA always recommends self-resolution and being proactive in resolving the disputes between yourselves first. Communication is key in resolving most disputes. So again, remembering to tailor your communication to suit the situation, and whether that's by phone, email, or by letter or in person. And be mindful of the words you use, watching your tone of your voice if over the phone, and your body language if you are speaking with them face to face. Listening is also part of communicating, so being involved and engaged in the conversation and being respectful. In any business relationship, respect goes a long way in building and maintaining that relationship. So you need to look at asking questions, find out more information. You may need to be able to have that information before you can make an informed decision or what the next step may be. By asking questions, you also find out that there may be other things happening that might be influencing a particular situation. And again, to remember, sticking to the facts, not stating those personal opinions, and also to sharing your information, your evidence, your documentation, and your photos. Now, I know we do actually have some questions coming through in relation to the exit condition report and the tenant's responsibility and things like that. So again, I'd really refer you to our webinar recording on the RTA's website in relation to the ending of the tenancy, where it steps through all those particular processes. So thorough documentation and evidence at the start and also at the end is vital. So under section 188 for the legislation, the tenant is to return the property in the same condition it was at the start of the tenancy, less fair wear and tear. Having that fully completed detailed report and photos shows what that property was like at the start. And again, at the end, avoids those conversations where it was said, it was left in better condition than what it was when I moved in, or that damage was there beforehand. So a lot of agents and landlords have different processes when it comes to doing the vacate. So it's really important to advise tenants prior to vacating, what does your office do in relation to that vacating process. Consider doing the vacate inspection together, and whilst I understand this may not necessarily be possible, it's a good opportunity to address any concerns or ensure after the inspection's been done that everyone's aware of the outcome. We often do hear from tenants that the inspection was done and that they never heard anything back to say that there was a problem, or that they were advised that they'd get their bond back. The next thing, there's a claim on the bond. So again, that's really good, important that you actually do communicate after the inspection has been done. If there is something to be rectified, so that's whether that's cleaning or repairs, or that there might be some rent outstanding, be clear as in who, when and how the issue is going to be addressed, and what is the next step or action being taken. So whether that is the tenant's going to be rectifying the problem themselves, or that the agent or the owner is engaging someone to do it, or that there's a claim on the bond. So whatever the step is, make sure everybody's informed. Again, the Act states that the tenant returns the property in the same condition it was at the start of the tenancy, less fair wear and tear. It does not talk about having second or third opportunities to go back and rectify it. So these conversations and good communication between the tenants and the agents or the owners are really key to avoiding the situation escalating to a dispute. So I cannot express enough that it's really important that you do talk to each other. Remember, a claim on the rental bond at the end of the tenancy can only occur once the tenancy has ended and a handover has occurred. So just before I just keep going through, I'm just going to launch another poll. And this time we're looking at what issues or concerns you have during or the end of the tenancy. So I will just get you to look at completing that. And just give you everybody a moment to do that for me. Thank you. Great. Look, thanks everybody. So I'll just look at closing that now. So what we have is about 53% the issues are relating to the vacate inspection and the bond refund, and then followed by about 25% for the repairs and maintenance. So thanks guys for that. So just going back to the presentation, again, that really good clear communication is critical with resolving disputes. So keeping all the parties informed, getting in early, so not waiting for something to escalate, so getting in first. If you are aware of a problem or a delay, get in early, talk and negotiate an outcome rather than waiting for it to become a bigger problem and in some cases costing more money. Any negotiations, whether that may be a rent reduction while an appliance is being fixed or like an amendment to an agreement or an agreement that something will be fixed by a certain time, again, really important to get that in writing. So empathy does go a long way in resolving disputes, and that's putting yourself in the other person's shoes. Showing genuine empathy and acknowledging feelings can definitely help resolve a dispute and calm someone down when they might be quite angry or upset. Negotiation and compromise, working together, trying to find that solution. Remember, for agents claiming on the bond, only ever claim what you're entitled to be claiming. Don't claim the whole bond amount if you're not entitled to receive that. And keep in mind too, if you are going through dispute resolution, make sure that you have released the undisputed amount to the tenant beforehand. Whoops. So with communication, it's all about the C's. So is it clear? Is it correct? Is it complete? So whether there's any further action that's required. And has it been done in a courteous way? Are you calm? And also too, have you considered all the facts? Again, I go back to tailoring your communication to suit the situation and the individual. Remember, responding to requests in a timely manner. And that's for both sides, and follow through on any actions that are promised. So the RTA's website has a lot of information regarding the legislation and also tenancy processes. So if you're not sure, please check the website, download fact sheets or all our publications, or you can call our friendly staff in our contact centre on the 1300 366 311 number. So again, both sides in a tenancy have responsibilities and they also both have rights as well. With dispute resolution process, we see it as a three-step process. So that first process is self-resolution, which is what we've just gone through. The second part, if it's not resolved, accessing the RTA's free dispute resolution service. And finally, if it's still not resolved, the opportunity then to proceed to QCAT, the Queensland Civil and Administrative Tribunal. The RTA offers free dispute resolution service for landlords, owners, providers and tenants and agents and residents to access. So last financial year, the RTA received over 29,000 disputes and 52% of those disputes were bond-related matters. The other matters that we receive are tenancy matters, and that's probably during the tenancy. And also too, we also see claims for compensation above the bond amount. To access the RTA's dispute resolution service, you need to complete a dispute resolution request, sign and submit that to the RTA. As soon as we receive that request, we'll then put that through our system. Keep in mind, we will be making available soon on our web services a dispute request form for bond disputes. And again, stay tuned for more information on that particular new service. You can also attach a brief summary of the dispute, so the RTA does not need all the evidence and tenancy documentation. We're just looking for an overview of the situation and any invoices or receipts that will help the process. So 1 or 2 pages is ample. If it is a bond-related dispute, agents and owners should ensure that they have shared the claim amounts and also the reasons and any invoices with the tenant. Don't keep it a secret, ensure everybody has a copy. And that's a two-way street. So likewise for tenants, if they have information or evidence, they should also be sharing that with the agent or the owner as well. I really want to point out, just because a dispute has commenced, this does not stop parties from talking with each other to resolve the matter. And that's really important to understand that. So just because a dispute request has been lodged, you can still talk to each other and try and get a resolution. The RTA's free dispute resolution service resolves 74% of disputes where the parties participate in the conciliation process. So firstly, we need to assess the suitability of the dispute. So the RTA follows an intake and case assessment methodology as part of conciliation. So an intake officer will assess the file as to the suitability to proceed to the telephone conference. So when we're looking to assess the file, we're looking at the complexity and the types of issues, the customer's willingness to engage in the process. And that's a really big point. As I said, we can't force parties, but we really want them to engage with us to go through this process. The number of parties and the availability and the level of conflict, and more importantly too, is it covered by the Residential Tenancies and Rooming Accommodation Act? If it is suitable, it's going to progress to a telephone conference. If it's not suitable, then the file will be closed or a notice of unresolved dispute will be issued for the people to go directly to the tribunal. So if you are coming through conciliation, here's some quick tips in relation to helping you prepare for it. So be prepared for the conference call. You're going to be notified of the date and time, so sit yourself in a quiet area, have all your tenancy files and your records and information handy and ready to go. So you need to consider, what is the actual issue? You'll need to be able to briefly describe the situation. So that's the who, what, when, why and how of the dispute. As I mentioned earlier, it's important to ensure any bond claims or invoices, receipts, photos are shared with everybody involved in the dispute. Remember, if the matter's not resolved, it may progress to the tribunal. So if you're a property manager, seek instructions from your landlord and ensure that they understand the process. So if it's not resolved, and any costs it may involve for you to take or represent your owner in taking the matter to the tribunal if it's not resolved. So seek those instructions first, what levels of negotiations that you have on the day of the telephone conference. And that's going to help everybody involved in the conciliation process. The RTA is looking to have a decision made on the day of the telephone conference call. So we're encouraging agents, get those instructions first. However, if you can't get those instructions, ensure the owner is available to contact around the time of the conference call so that you can get those instructions then. The conciliation process is mostly done by telephone conferencing, and that's where all the parties in the dispute are available and on the phone at the same time. On occasion, we may look to do what we call telephone and shuttle negotiation, and that's where we have individual calls back and forth between the parties. Parties to a dispute own the dispute outcome. So the conciliator is impartial. They're not there to take sides nor make any decisions. They're going to provide a safe environment for parties to have their say. They're going to encourage both sides to reach an agreement and help participants to consider the possible outcomes based on Queensland tenancy legislation. The process is a confidential one, so anything that's said in this process is not admissible should it proceed to the tribunal. So if the matter is resolved, the conciliator will put that in writing and get everyone to sign it, or if it's a bond-related matter, they'll sign a refund form. If the matter's not resolved, a notice of unresolved dispute will be issued, and that way then you proceed to the tribunal. Again, I go back to ensuring if an agent or the owner is claiming on the bond, again, only ever claim what you're entitled to claim and release those undisputed monies. With the benefits of conciliation, we can save time and avoid the tribunal waiting times. Tribunal times can vary, so you do need to check with QCAT regarding their non-urgent application wait times. And look, that could be anything from weeks to months across Queensland. There are no fees applicable. There's flexibility. You have a say in the outcome rather than a decision imposed on you by an adjudicator if it proceeds off to the tribunal. People participating in the conciliation are generally more likely to be satisfied with the result than not. And it's also an opportunity to reconcile relationships and improve further communication to stop those disputes from arising. For information on QCAT, just go to their website, which is qcat.qld.gov.au. So remember, there are two types of applications to the tribunal. There's urgent and also non-urgent matters. Urgent is outlined in the legislation and it's not based on whether you feel your matter is urgent. It relates to things such as the ending of the tenancy and the warrant of possessions, urgent repairs, hardship cases, things like that. The matters that are non-urgent, which usually are monetary type matters, will require a notice of unresolved dispute from the RTA to proceed off to the tribunal. So again, remember there are also timeframes involved if you are applying to QCAT, particularly those bond dispute matters. So if you're applying, don't leave it to the last minute. Make sure that you do get all your paperwork ready. And again, there's a check sheet and things like that available on the QCAT's website. The tribunal is self-representation, so you will be representing your own case. So in some situations, as an example, where it might be like an elderly person or someone with a disability, they may need to be taking a support person with them on the day, and you should inform QCAT regarding this and what role that person will have. So information on that particular process, again, looking at QCAT's website. Remember, going to the tribunal is evidence-based. You will need to provide all your documentation, evidence, photographs, copies of notices, diary notes, anything that's going to be supporting your argument. If you don't bring your evidence on the day of the hearing, you don't get a second chance, and the outcome of the hearing is up to the adjudicator. So it could be a win, a lose, or a draw. So you need to be prepared and making sure that you have all your documentation ready to go. Now I'm just a little bit conscious of time, just a little bit more information about other dispute services. So keep in mind that the RTA can only deal with disputes that's covered under the Residential Tenancies and Rooming Accommodation Act. So in some instances, disputes are received that are not in our jurisdiction. So just to quickly outline other options, particularly for neighbourhood disputes or those commercial disputes. The Dispute Resolution Branch under the Department of Justice will be able to assist you. So they have a dispute resolution centres across Queensland, and I've put a website link up there to assist you in finding out more information about their centres. With other disputes, you may actually be involved in a body corporate. So the Office of the Commissioner for Body Corporate and Community Management can assist you with the body corporate disputes. So remember, a tenant as an occupier can also deal directly with the body corporate and body corporate managers. So information on the body corporate disputes and their services for conciliation and adjudication can be found on the Commissioner's website, and again, I'll put a link up above on this slide for you. So sometimes you may find that there may be two processes running, particularly if there has been a breach of the body corporate bylaws. So remember, the bylaws do form part of the tenancy agreement. So it could be that there's a tenancy breach, and that will be between the owner or the agent and also the tenant, and that's covered under the tenancy laws. Also too, there could be a contravention notice that's been issued, and that's between the occupier, so that could be the tenant, and the body corporate. And again, that's not covered under the RTA, that is covered under the body corporate laws. Again, just outlining, the RTA's Dispute Resolution Service can only deal with matters that are covered under the Residential Tenancies and Rooming Accommodation Act. So there is a lot of support available in the sector. So depending on what group that you belong with in relation to whether you're an agent, you've got the access to the Real Estate Institute of Queensland. For tenants, you've got access to Tenants Queensland or your local Q-Stars. On-site managers, ARAMA, property owners. So for landlords, you've got the Property Owners Association of Queensland, Caravan Parks Association for park managers, and also too there's Q-Shelter. For students at universities or TAFEs, you can access your student support services. And for organisations or managers of student accommodation, there's organisations such as your Student Accommodation Association that can provide you assistance. Remember, the RTA is here to help everybody that's involved in a tenancy, and we can also refer customers who may need additional support to one of these organisations. Just another quick note in relation to the Tenancy Skills Institute that offers free tenant training. So while the program was initially set up to assist people who have never rented before, and that's understanding their rights and responsibilities and budgeting and maintaining a property and cleaning it. The program may also be suitable for when a tenant may not be aware of their responsibilities and may be also at risk of losing their tenancy. So this program's available across the whole of Queensland and focuses on setting up successful tenancies and also to keeping a rental tenancy. So for more information on that, please go to the Tenancy Skills Institute, which is the tenancyskills.com.au for more information. Now, I'm just conscious of time here, so I've just got a little bit more information, particularly in relation to an RTA update. So just bear with me, I'll just quickly do that, and then we'll get to some of these questions that's actually been submitted through, and there seems to be some themes coming through as well. So the RTA's new bond lodgement web service is available for tenants and property managers or owners to lodge a single bond with the RTA. So it's fast, it's easy and secure, and there's just 4 steps that you need to take to actually lodge a bond. You need to agree to the terms and conditions, register an account with QGov, and that registration then literally becomes your identity, as in like your signature moving forward. Complete the lodgement details for the tenancy and property and your bond contributors, and then pay by either BPay, credit card or debit card. So our website has a lot of information available on this new service. So there will be more changes to that web services coming soon, and what that includes is expanding the web services to include the refund of rental bond. We'll also be looking to add bond disputes as part of that, and also to updating customer details. So this is anticipated to be launched at the end of 2019. So this will include the ability to do those online disputes as well. So as the RTA progresses through more of the RTA forms, we'll have information available on the web services during 2020. The e-services, the PDF upload facility for refund of rental bonds, is going to remain in place until we launch our bond refund web service. So again, that's anticipated to be late 2019. So after this, the PDF upload facility for bond refunds will be replaced with the new web service. So again, it's exciting times for the RTA as we progress further into the digital market. And as I said, during 2020, there'll be a lot more forms available through this web service. The other thing that the RTA is looking to reduce its environmental footprint and put a focus on expanding our customer services and also our support. So as of 1 January 2020, the RTA is going to cease bulk printing of forms and publications. Customers can download the up-to-date forms from the website, or they can call our contact centre for a single form if they're unable to access a computer or a printer. So again, our website details are available here, or our friendly staff in our call centre on 1300 366 311. So I'm just going to get back to the questions, and there's been quite a few questions that's been submitted through, so thank you very much. And again, if I haven't been able to address your question through the webinar, please again contact our call centre or go to the website for information. So some of these questions actually relate to some of the information that I've just said about the RTA web services and also the printing. So just keep in mind that you can send a tenant the information statement by email. So you can actually download that or send that directly to them. One of the questions that's coming through is in relation to what if clients are deaf and they need to access the dispute resolution service. The RTA does have access to the deaf services with the National Relay Service, and also to access to translated services. So if someone has identified that on their form, then we will be able to engage other services to assist us in doing that dispute resolution process. Some other questions in relation to how long does it take for a dispute to be processed. So once a dispute is received, it's in our system, and then we put it through to the intake officer. So that's usually anything up to about 2 or 3 weeks. So, and then it goes into conciliation. So it could be up to around 4 weeks. However, it really depends on the nature of the dispute, whether it's a urgent tenancy matter or whether it's a bond matter, and also to take into the number of disputes that we've received at any one time. So our timeframes can slightly vary, but at the moment, as I said, that's a rough estimate on what we are doing in relation to the timeframes. So there are questions in relation to the tenant not completing the exit report and also the timeframes for the exit report. And again, I go back to our previous webinar that we've run in relation to the end of tenancy, whether it is the tenant's responsibility to complete that exit report, provide a copy to the agent or the landlord, then they have those 3 business days. If the tenant doesn't complete the report, and particularly if there's issues, it's probably deemed to be best practice in relation to completing one anyway, so that you've got that evidence. There's quite a few questions in relation to who determines fair wear and tear. And again, fair wear and tear is that everyday use of the premises, so it could be the small things like scuff marks or furniture indent on the carpet, and also to the deterioration through like time or age and the environment may cause fair wear and tear as well. So I guess it's more about what is seen as damage. So, you know, your holes in walls and your stains on carpets and things like that. So again, it goes back to sort of like, you know, the everyday use of the premises versus what is actually damage. So there's just some questions in relation to taking photos, and this question has come from in relation to a caravan park. So are photos of the site a good idea? Absolutely, yes. So at the start of the tenancy and also too at the end, and particularly again, if there's that dispute in relation to the condition of the property, you've got that evidence, not just in writing, but you've also got the evidence by way of photo as well. In relation to doing the vacate inspection together, as I said, you know, it's not a compulsory thing, but again, we're just looking to encourage that really good communication when there is an issue so that you can address those matters. In relation to this, some questions about, you know, why if someone's really, really angry, and I suppose this is where this whole conciliation side of the whole resolving disputes has come about. So first of all, if someone is really angry, you know, the tip to actually deal with them is you don't ignore them. I know dealing with the confrontational situations, it's not easy, and tough as it might be, you still need to address it. So look at it from all sides, listen and find out what the actual problem is, and ask those questions. Acknowledge how that person is feeling, and again, you know, showing that empathy. So the main thing is get to the point where the volume of the voice and the anger or frustration is settled so that you can actually try and resolve the matter. So for the person who is angry, it's a really good idea, just remain calm, try and focus on the facts so that you can actually get your point across. Another couple of questions in relation to, does the RTA deal with flatmates? So in a bond dispute situation, the RTA will actually be involved, but not involved in relation to resolving disputes between co-tenants and flatmates. And likewise too, you know, in relation to disputes between the actual like landlord and the property manager themselves, we can't deal with those types of disputes. So we would refer you to the Queensland Government, so the Office of Fair Trading Department. They deal with the issues relating to the licensing of real estate agents, the trust accounts, and also their conduct. So again, unfortunately, the RTA does not deal with those situations. So look, we've had a lot of questions. So if we haven't answered your question directly, again, please contact our call centre or visit our website. We value your feedback and also in relation to the information that you provide us. So a short survey is going to pop up now on your screen. So once I close the webinar, so please take that opportunity to provide us with your feedback. Let us know what topics you're interested to know more about. So the RTA will be running future webinars on a variety of topics, and this is also based on the feedback that we get from these types of education events, so from our webinars and other activities that we do run. So again, remember, our website and our call centre is available if you need more information. So again, the webinar will now close. So again, please complete the survey. We really would appreciate it. Thank you.